What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to the channel, guys. Usually with big launches like this, I like to start them off by saying, today we're going to check out the long-awaited, highly anticipated blah blah blah. But as we all know by now, the X299 high-end desktop platform from Intel has been a topic of hot controversy in recent weeks, so I am not going to start the video that way. That being said, it is going to be interesting. It's an interesting launch. There's definitely a lot to talk about. We've got several new CPUs on the market as of today. We've got 3 Skylake X CPUs that are, I think, consisting of 6, 8, and 10 core variants, and then we've got 2 Kaby Lake X chips, one of which we're taking a look at today, and that's the Core i7-7740X. It is the more expensive or the higher end of the 2 Kaby Lake X parts, so it is hyper-threaded. It's got 4 cores, 8 threads, a base and boost clock of 4.3 and 4.5 gigahertz respectively, a slightly higher TDP than its 7700K predecessor of 112 watts as opposed to 90. And then we've also got 8 megabytes of L3 cache, 16 PCIe Gen 3 lanes, which, by the way, seems a bit limiting on a high-end desktop platform, especially when you're paying a premium for X299 features and additional connectivity like M.2, U.2, PCIe Gen 3 lanes or slots and so forth, but only 16 lanes on the CPU, which again is a bit of a head scratcher, and there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions probably from this video, as we are all still a little bit confused about this launch. Another interesting characteristic about Kaby Lake X is that it only supports dual channel memory. So again, here we have a motherboard that has 8 DIMM slots, yet we can only populate half of them, and I've only put 2 sticks in here for simplicity's sake. But again, one of the biggest draws for me for Intel's high-end desktop platform was just being able to go crazy with my RAM capacity, just being able to max out all the slots and just have room for expansion in the future. But here we have the same sort of limitations we see on Z270, just with a more expensive motherboard. So it just again, sort of a backwards move here. And then there's no iGPU on Kaby Lake X. Sorry if you wanted an iGPU, you don't have one anymore, like you did on regular Kaby Lake non-X. Now again, most of us are going to be dropping in a discrete GPU like this one on this platform. However, it's still kind of nice to have in certain situations if you want to use it for just basic troubleshooting, for example, or if you want to take advantage of any of the technologies that live on the chip itself, such as QuickSync. If you want to do some on-the-fly encoding, you will no longer be able to do that. Again, probably not a big deal for most of us, but something to be aware of if you are going to be buying into Kaby Lake X. Now, there is something interesting about my 7740X here, which I've probably already given away through my title or thumbnail, but it's the fact that it's delidded. This is a delidded chip. Not by me, of course. This was a part given to me as a loaner from the folks over at Gigabyte. They were kind enough to let me borrow it to make this video. It was the last one that they had on hand, and it happened to be the one that their engineering team got to play with and delidded. So bear in mind, for all the performance numbers, all the thermals, the temperatures, everything you're about to see, all the results in this video are not reflective of retail performance because we are dealing with a delidded chip. And for those of you who don't know, delidding is basically a process where you remove the internal heat spreader, in layman's terms, the silvery part on top of your CPU. You remove the silver part, and that gives you access to the die, and from there you can actually replace Intel's crappy thermal interface material job with your own before replacing the internal heat spreader, and theoretically that should give you better thermals and much higher overclocking capabilities. And as we're about to see, delidding definitely did its job. This thing is an absolute monster, but again, bear in mind as we go about looking at the benchmarks especially, that this is not going to reflect the sort of general average consumer performance with Kaby Lake X. Now, moving right along here, I was able to dial in a pretty hefty overclock to 5.3 gigahertz on all cores at 1.415 volts. That was rock solid stable, again thanks to the help of the Corsair H110i here, as well as the fact that this is a delidded processor. That probably helps a lot. Now, the fact that I don't have a non-delidded 7740X to compare this against makes it pretty impossible for me to tell you exactly how much of this overclocking headroom is attributed to the delidding process versus just the fact that it's Kaby Lake X and a newer CPU. So again, that's also going to apply to the thermal results you're going to see in benchmarking performance and everything else. Now, before we dive into the rest of our testing hardware here, I wanted to mention that the only CPU that I'm pitting the 7740X against today will be the 7700K on the Z270 platform. The reason why I'm comparing it to this chip, it's very similarly spec'd. I mean, they're both hyper-threaded, they have the same core and thread count. They're more or less comparable, even price-wise, all right? $325 on Amazon last I checked, versus around $335, $340 MSRP at launch. So again, the big difference here is performance. Is performance going to be any different? Because that might sway users one way or another. But then B, the platform itself. X299 is just more expensive hands down to buy into. This board, like an entry-level X299 board, is just going to require more upfront cost than an entry-level Z270 board. Not that these are entry-level, I'm just saying. So the question is if you're not really getting that many upgrades with Kaby Lake X, dual channel memory support, the iGPU taken away, and you're limited to 16 PCIe lanes. So what the hell? Why are you going to spend more on an X299 board for pretty much all the same features? I just don't understand. Again, this is really the best comparison that I have right now with the CPUs that I have at my disposal, is comparing these two. And again, even that's not going to be super relevant because this is a DELIDDED processor. So again, that's all I have. I'm sorry if this offends you or disappoints you guys in any way, but it's what I have to work with. It is what it is. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I should mention that I did overclock the 7700K to 5 gigahertz. That was stable at 1.425 volts. I wouldn't recommend that for 24/7 use, but for the purpose of our testing and just trying to push these guys as far as we can. I mean, pretty much all the same hardware was used on the Z270 platform, with the exception of the CPU, of course, and the motherboard, which is this is the MSI Gaming Pro Carbon. So that was used. Everything else is pretty much the same. So on that note, guys, let's go ahead and roll tape and take a look at the benchmarks for our DELIDDED Kaby Lake X processor. So there you guys have it. Overall, some really impressive thermals, I might add, from simply delidding that 7740X. My goodness. But performance-wise, we saw the Kaby Lake X processor here outperform our 7700K across the board at the lower resolutions where we weren't quite as GPU-bound like we were at 4K. So at 1080p and 1440p, we saw gains ranging anywhere from 5 to 14%, I think, in one game, which is pretty crazy. But I feel like even if these were off-the-shelf performance numbers that you could achieve without even delidding your processor, I still feel like X299 and Kaby Lake X as a combination is a hard sell, simply because it just feels like a crippling combo to me. It feels like, you know, with only 16 PCIe lanes and dual channel memory support and all the things that we've talked about, it pains me to spend more on a motherboard that I can't fully utilize. And for that reason, I feel like Kaby Lake X, these two processors that just launched today, they're way more well suited for Z270. And I feel like Intel, just for whatever reason, as Linus said in his rant video, just sort of stapled on the Skylake or the Kaby Lake architecture onto an LGA 2066 socket. Gamers are very money-conscious creatures, and I can't see many of them paying full price for a new platform and only getting half the features out of it. So for that reason, if you're a diehard gamer and that's all you're doing is gaming, then I'd still recommend the 7700K because it's going to be cheaper for you in the long run, and it's still a wicked fast processor. It's still one of the fast gaming chips you can buy currently. And we can't ignore all of the solid offerings on AMD's side either. I mean, with Ryzen 5 and 7, Threadripper coming up, it's hard to just migrate to Kaby Lake X and X299 when you can still get, you know, more than 4 cores and 8 threads for a much better price. Overall, better price to performance, better bang for your buck than Kaby Lake X and X299, hands down. So if you are the type of gamer who also maybe dabbles in a little bit of streaming, maybe some video editing, anything else workstation related, then I still feel like Ryzen is the best bet right now. And then we've also got the future to look forward to. There's Threadripper to talk about, you know, more on that when more details come to light on that. Not to mention, in just a few months, we might be seeing Intel's new mainstream platform replace Kaby Lake, which is going to be Coffee Lake. And that's going to be offering much more, I think, than Kaby Lake X is currently, with a newer architecture or a refined architecture, 14 nanometer plus or whatever it is, and 6 cores potentially, 6 cores, 12 threads. Why would you jump on Kaby Lake X now when Coffee Lake is just around the corner? There's just a lot of reasons why this one aspect of the X299 platform just makes very little sense to me. But those are my overall thoughts, guys. I can't really say much else here that won't be a repeat of what someone's already said in another YouTube video elsewhere. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this whole topic in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about it, as always. And thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to toss me a like on it if you did enjoy it. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for more tech stuff coming at you really soon. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.